Alright guys, here we're going to talk about The Umbrella Academy, Season 1, Episode 5.
Yo.
Things are getting spicy.
Things are getting spicy. Turns out this is a time travel show, maybe? It may still not be
Did we not think it was?
I made the distinction last time between a show with time travel and a time travel show.
Oh, I get you.
It's like films versus movies or graphic novels versus comics. Yeah. I'm still actually not sure because it might still be a show with time travel.
I don't think there's going to be a crazy amount of it, but I do think it's going to play pivotal parts when it happens.
It seems to be playing a lot of parts. Where would you like to start? We see Five's history.
All right.
We see him growing old in the apocalyptic wasteland.
So how did you like that?
I hate that.
I thought...
This is the first episode that I have legitimate problems with.
So Five grows older, and we see him grow older.
Mad old.
And then he grows older once again, and that person doesn't seem to look anything like the other person we've seen.
Oh, really?
The middle-aged Five and the oldest Five, I thought, did not look very much alike.
That's like an actor thing or whatever. I don't mind.
So the problems I will proceed with from there in order. So I thought those characters were weirdly miscast because we know how old Five is. So the idea of between like 30 and 60, he looks so different, I thought was a little strange.
And he has like a long white beard even before he's like real old or whatever right at the very end. Yeah.
And now, oh no, I'm sorry, he was way older than 30 in that toward the end of that thing. But regardless, his power works that he like teleports. He's like dung and dung, and he teleports. But for some reason, he made a portal that he could see through and then jumped through in like the original episode where we first saw him, and now we see what exactly happened. So I was led to believe that he made some sort of machine that made the portal, but he didn't. He just conjured a portal.
Yeah.
That would be a whole subsect of his powers that we don't know about. That means he could take people with him places.
Because the fire extinguisher goes through the other way.
Yeah.
I feel like they're setting that up for that to happen later. But yeah, he says, I got the calculations wrong or something like that. And I'm like, what calculations? I spent time thinking about this. I think that... I spent time. I think that the calculation may have been that he had to try to do it from a certain year. So he had to wait until his assignment was at a certain place in history, close enough to probably catch like the spiral waves of time. But they didn't explain that. There's nothing about that in there. I had to make all that up myself.
Yeah.
Just to not go insane. Yeah. I was picturing...
Well, you saw his notebook. You saw where he was. So that is a conclusion that is safe to draw.
And he's writing on the
Or
wall.
that just happened to be the moment he figured it out, which seems a little less likely.
While he was about to shoot Kennedy? And does he not shoot Kennedy? Or did he shoot him, but they didn't like show me exactly him
he did not shoot Kennedy. I thought they were going to wait a couple seconds longer and show you that the real magic bullet thing was that two different agents like teleport in, shoot, and then teleport out or something like that.
Right?
Which would explain like the weird whatevers, but it didn't.
Let me take a moment to highlight, after his recruitment, there is like black and white footage of this old man walking in place over like a backdrop of like stock footage, and it's all weird and black and white. It's one of the worst on this show that like looks and feels so good. It was one of the worst things I have seen in like recent memory. I was so shocked at how bad that sequence was. And then to your point, that he didn't build a machine or like, I'm like stockpiling chrono energy to like do this, and I'm like sneaking around, have some weird dumb thing. Like, is that old man actor not allowed to speak? Is there some reason why you can't have him? I was so upset.
I don't know.
It was so weird.
And it could be as simply as in the comic there was no dialogue there, and they just are very true.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And in the grand scheme of things,
a lot of that struck me as very odd. Just 'cause I'm like,
Right.
to the best of my knowledge as to what his power is, that isn't it yet, including up to the time when we saw him transport himself into the future. So we know that he can transport. How many years in the future did he jump? He went from being how old? 11 to jumping to when they were like in their 30s or something.
What?
When he first transported from youth to the future to after the apocalypse.
No, didn't he just grow old in the apocalypse? Wasn't he a kid?
He did grow old in the apocalypse, but he had to have jumped from the past and he went to the apocalyptic future.
Yeah.
So that's how many years? Like 20
whatever it was,
years,
30 years.
30 years. So we know he can do that. And if, to your point, if it's the ability to jump there, so what would that be, like 50 years that he jumped from that from JFK?
When was JFK assassinated? How ignorant are we? Was it in the 60s?
68, maybe? Something like that?
So if he had to go from there... to there.
Yeah. Maybe that's a similar time period.
Okay.
Jump. So like that, there's
I can go
some
for it.
we can lend a little bit to that.
That's like a fan theory though. At this point, though,
Of course it is. But
yeah.
but I'm imagining that they're going to explain more things as this goes.
I did have to show. Well, anything could happen. I guess you're absolutely right. But yes,
Especially with the ability to time travel.
This felt like a moment, though, where you're supposed to be like, "Oh wow, that's the other side of that thing I saw earlier. See, the fire extinguisher goes through. Oh, amazing, right?" And then you're just like, "What? No, this was not one of those moments."
Another issue is that fire extinguisher is now right outside the JFK assassination, which would have tags and it would be modern technology that doesn't exist for another 40 years.
Should be found on the grassy knoll or something like that.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I would like there to be a thing where like some guy finds it and he invents the next crazy fire extinguisher.
Yeah, but
I don't know, something.
But this is not just like nitpicking like plot holes or whatever. Like they framed this up like it was the epic backstory and this crazy moment, like I'm saying about like, oh, the whole other. Meanwhile, this was the real. Oh, and it was just fell very flat for me. And that's how the episode opens, and I'm just like, what is happening?
It made me think a lot of. The hamster was running on the wheel and they're going like, wait a minute, does that mean, how did he get that? And I'm like, well, maybe after the like 30 years or whatever he spent alone, he manipulated his power and got to be able to do something better. But we don't see him do that again yet, and I guess he may not have had a purpose too. And we don't know what the actual rules of time are in this world, or if he knows what they are and is working based on them. Because if he had the easy ability to travel back in time, why wouldn't he go, okay, I'm 7 days from the apocalypse, let me travel back to like 30 days, 40 days, a month, a year, 10 years.
It had to have been like a Sliders thing where he like that was a specific like hole, tunnel that he could, something. Maybe they'll explain it, maybe not, but at the moment, it does the opposite of when they like give me a taste. I'm just like, ugh, what was that? And I'm like, no, there's more to the meal.
Yeah.
It's going to be good later. I like the line later though where he's talking to Luther and he says like I took pride in my work but I didn't enjoy it. I just happened to write that note next to this section about his backstory or something like that.
And his logic is super sound.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's like, everybody's going to die anyway from this. He goes, what does it matter if I kill them ahead of time? It doesn't.
No, but it was a good thing where like Luther is the stereotype of that like Cyclops, like the leader of the team guy, but he has this interesting element where he's like trying to be that guy because I think his father like tried to make him into that guy. So he's just like, well, I know I'm supposed to say this, but then when like Five challenges him, he doesn't really have any answer besides to like physically threaten, I really liked that whole part.
That's
like,
the difference between people that have learned something and people that have memorized something.
Yeah.
Like when you come at them from any other angle, they don't have a response because it's not what they read in the book.
Yeah, but like that's such a nuanced thing to put into the character. Like he doesn't just give inspirational speeches and bring the whole team together. Like it's very obvious, like he's trying and it's failing or whatever. But I like that little thing or something like that.
Sure.
But also Five kind of coming around and being like, okay, you're right. I tried my thing. It didn't work out. The place burned down. Here's all the information, and kind of like gives it all, and that's how we see all those flashbacks and stuff. But speaking of time travel.
Yeah, so Klaus gets a beautiful trip to Vietnam.
It's fine, I guess, or whatever, but it feels so like I almost looked up the original comic to see if it was released like in the 90s, because this seems like a very 90s like edgy weird thing to me or something like that. Like the character that already has PTSD somehow accidentally time travels and is drafted into the Vietnam War, like without any identity or like past or anything like that, somehow is drafted and goes to, and maybe there's more to the story like everything else,
and maybe we'll never hear anything more from the story. And I wonder about that too though. He was only there for 1 year.
That's a problem for me
too. So
I'm
like, how did he even get drafted?
No, and like
I'm thinking he signed up.
So yeah, maybe because the like dude that he was in love with got drafted and he went in with him or something like that. But then he wouldn't be in the same unit. It doesn't matter.
No, I don't know when they stopped that, but there was a thing where you could like, I don't know what it's called, like battle buddy or something. You could join with somebody.
Was that a part of like the Vietnam thing?
I don't know when it stopped. I know it existed during World War I and II because whole villages would join together. But I think they stopped large groups from doing it because there were problems where whole towns had no men because like a whole platoon died and none of them could come back
because they were all like on a mission.
So it would ruin towns.
Okay, now I feel differently about that, but I still don't like. So he comes back, and it's a pretty well done scene. He comes back, you can see the pain. He smashes the briefcase and it bursts into flames.
Yeah.
It's like slow-mo music, musical number, all that business. I like all that. And so I was like, oh, this is how they're like I think very cynically, right? So I'm like, this is how they're like making him combat like ready. Because
I was thinking that too. I was like, and now he's gonna drop some sweet moves.
Yeah,
but he didn't.
And now he's gonna like be like cleaning his gun and like redoing stuff. And like
my issue,
Diego's gonna be like, what's going on there, bro? And he's like, you can keep your knives if you want. And he can like do his like stuff. And he's like, awesome. He'll have like weird habits that he developed or whatever. But then you're right. He was only gone for 10 months. So like he should have been gone for years and be like a badass now. That's like juvenile for me to want that. But he has no combat effective powers, right? So to have him come back and be like more tortured but have also gained something, right? +1 to attack, -1 to defense or whatever.
Something would have been nice.
Makes it really interesting for me. And they don't do that. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
So the issue here is he comes back, and on the day he comes back, he also manages to go into a VFW that happens to be the one that has a like dedicated placard to his exact unit and a picture with him in it on the wall.
Yeah.
Now, of all the units there were in the world up until this year, the idea that one is in this VFW. Yeah.
And it feels like time compression for like adapting this, but I assume the ticking clock of like a week was in the original comic. Maybe that's not true or whatever, but like I could see him eventually going there or finding it or whatever, or like picture like the comic book panel after the fight and like his arms over Diego's shoulder and he's like, yeah, fuck him though, and then like it like cuts back to like the like vets picking up like a fallen over table and like like putting the pool stuff back on, and like the last panels just like the thing on the wall that Klaus was looking at and it has Klaus's picture and you're like, oh shit, and then like chapter 3 starts or whatever. Oh, that'd be awesome. But yeah, it doesn't work if he just goes there later that day.
Goes there, cries,
like, hey.
Goes there with the express like notion to take his pin and put it on the wall or his patch or whatever the fuck it was. So I'm like, what?
Yeah,
that seems what?
It's a whole thing. Yeah, I thought this was, and again, like I read Preacher and certain other like '90s comic books, and this feels like that sort of aesthetic to me. And I would be done. I'm gonna go back later, but I'm committed to not doing show prep. So
is it wrong that I did think it was great when they're beating up the vets?
No, like, and that's also like '90s edginess. But yeah, like that was a good scene too. Yeah, say you're sorry, and like Diego's like, I'm sorry, and just said, it's like perfect. And he goes, I want to hear it from him, and you do this whole thing.
I'm sorry that a village is missing its idiot.
Which is a dumb line, but I like that Klaus is just like not having it. He's expressing it his way. Yeah.
He is a war veteran that is not happy.
He's not happy now. Yeah. No, it's a whole thing. But it felt like I had this sensation of the show coming off the rails because we had that weird black and white stock footage thing, and then we had this thing with Klaus as like a vet suddenly, and had it seems to have like learned nothing, but not in a way where he learned less than nothing. It just seems to have done very like I don't know what's gonna happen later in the next episode, but I'm like, whoa, what's happening?
He got stellar tattoos for the 70s, though.
Yeah, right. Well, they're fresh. Most tattoos from the 70s don't look fresh.
Well,
I have no idea.
That's partially true, but
I don't know. Yeah, he has tattoos and stuff, and it's fairly obvious. And like 5 has to act like he's the Doctor Who super sleuth. I can smell the particles on you or some weird. It's like no, what? Look at him. He's obviously something has happened to him.
You've seen some shit.
You've seen some shit, my dude. Yeah.
All right, so we have
my next note is a quick one.
All right, what do you got?
About Hazel and the waitress.
Okay.
He makes his
how
move.
He loves the waitress.
That's so earlier.
It's such a Hazel thing to do.
That's so Hazel. I'm just saying. That's like it's like classic Hazel.
He's a very Hazel.
No, I like that. I like that. Because we're finding out all these things about him when he was like quote unquote interrogating the waitress, and his like body language changed. I called that out as like I love that when Cha-Cha comes back in. Then we have the conflict where Cha-Cha's like, I thought you killed his his wife, and he's like, well, I gave her a head start to be interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
He's all Canadian sounding or whatever, something in my head. And now this, where he's like, yeah, we're screwed. And then he lies to Chacha. He's like, I've been all around town looking at pawn shops. What have you been doing or whatever? And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, that's awesome.
He may have also done that off camera, but yes, he was certainly also enjoying
definitely dedicated
his
day.
last time
part of his
in
day.
the world.
And I like that because that's like fundamentally human. He's like, we're losing 7% a day. Everything's gone sideways. We gotta go. Right, he's like, and he says to her and to himself, when you feel like this, you just gotta go for it or whatever. I'm like, my guy, big teddy bear. Yeah.
Did you like? I call her this V in my head. What is her name?
Vanya.
Vanya. It's such an unnatural name for me to pronounce.
It's a weird name.
Vanya. Vanya with that whole putting the salt in her coffee.
I noticed her putting the salt in the coffee.
I watched it and I was like, I don't go to coffee houses. Do they keep sugar in those? and then like a second later, he's like, well, you're putting salt in your coffee. And I was like, clock that.
And I was like, is she off her meds? Does she need salt because she has some like problem with her something?
Well, like in my head, I was like, do they serve anything at a coffee shop that would require salt? Maybe they just put sugar in those things.
And there's a special type of tea that puts the salt on there. Yeah,
yes. And I'm struggling now to think. I'm like, what would you put salt on at a coffee shop?
It's probably a coffee shop that also sells other things. Is all I can imagine.
I'm like,
perhaps
all right,
a coffee shop and deli.
Maybe.
Burgers.
I don't put salt on anything, so I have no
Burgers
idea.
and coffee. I don't know. Let's get some French fries. Put some salt on there.
My note immediately after that one says missing chair, and I have no idea what that was about.
Missing chair?
I wrote missing chair.
Why do you do this to me?
I don't know.
Oh, the first chair violin is missing.
Ah! Pew 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 pew. Yes.
Well, so I didn't write that down because I wrote down, and he killed the first chair violin later. So let's just get all that out of the way, I guess.
Yeah.
It is not a magic violin, but it appears to be magic while violining, which is what I said, and he actually killed the first chair violin, which is what you said. So we knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
I wonder if it actually is just while she's violining. I think it is. I think it's just a exuded confidence magic.
I have written that down as well and I almost couched it, but we seem to be in like a bubbly mood, so I didn't bother. But yes, I also wrote down, but it also later seems to happen when they're getting freaky. So I'm like, okay, it's something. But I don't know if that was like a storytelling technique because we follow the Donnie Darko trail up into the attic and stuff. So I
wrote
I don't know what's happening here.
In the middle, I was like, yep, there's gonna be like either a shrine out of wood dedicated to her in the attic or the dead chair. And it's
we can't call her the chair. It's gonna mess me up.
I don't know her name.
Okay.
She's dead now. We're never gonna talk about her again.
There's also a book that has RH on it.
Okay.
And H, I think, is Hargraves. And what was their father's first name again with an R? Did they ever say his first name?
I don't remember.
So there's a book up there. You remember that, right? And it like opens up.
Yeah.
And there's like calculations and stuff like that.
I couldn't tell exactly what I was looking at, but yeah.
So I think that might be, let's say, Robert Hargraves's like journal or something like that. So he's like he like killed the violinist to like let Vanya have her chance, and he like stole her meds to make her inadvertently use her powers, and he knows all about the Umbrella people. I don't think he's one of them anymore, but I'm not sure. Right? That was another prediction where we're like, I don't know.
That was something I was like, I'll still lean on that one. I'll say it's possible.
It's probably more likely, but he stole the like journal or like has that book or something like that. None of their names begin with R, right? No, Vanya.
No.
It has to be the dad's journal. So he must be like studying them and trying to make something happen or something like that. I'm not sure what his plan is.
A side note, I couldn't remember what's the monkey's name. Bobo?
Pogo.
Pogo.
That's my last note.
Pogo with a bonobo.
He's not a bonobo.
I know, but it was how I remembered it, and I couldn't remember what he was, and I kept going, Bobo with a bonobo. I'm like, that's too fucking, that's not it.
That's just saying it twice. That's not it. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the Klaus Diego.
Yeah, buddy.
I like their relationship. I think Klaus and Diego have some of the best.
Yeah.
Like their rapport is good. Their back and forth is fun. When he's like going on a mission, he's like, so can I get a ride? And he's like, I'm too busy. So give me 2 minutes. I'll be right out. Like whatever he says. I'm like, this is genius.
And he waits for him. No,
yes.
I love that interaction too, because in episode 1, right? That's when we find out that Hold on,
Ben?
something's happening. That's when we find out that he can see Ben. I'm sorry, I was getting a phone call on my stupid phone note thing here. That's when we find out about Ben and like Diego, Diego's throwing out the monocle and all that stuff.
Yes.
Because he was driving him back to wherever. Right?
Yeah.
Something happened like that. So
Yeah, in his like shitbox car.
they have this running thing with them, and I like that. Oh, I forgot to write this down. Allison and like Luther were like romantically involved or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Just a little. There's nothing more to say than that. They were all adults. They're not biologically related. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it was like, little character things between the different siblings is cool. Just like this Diego Klaus thing that you're talking about.
Well, it makes sense. You spend like, I don't know if they spent quite 18 years together, but they spent a good amount of time together.
Train together.
You would
going
make
through tough
friendships.
stuff.
You would do things. Yeah. So they are brothers in quotes, but they're also friends, and they have that relationship where it's like, come on. Like he's like, I like when he's fighting the drugs away from him, and then ultimately is like when he gets to the point of I just lost somebody, he's like, I lost someone too. All right, and let's take the fucking drug.
When does that happen?
In the car. He keeps taking
okay.
away his drugs, and he's
Gotcha.
like, I lost the love of my life, and then he lets him
The
take
only
the drug.
one I ever loved. Yeah, Klaus.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, Klaus. I like that character going in, so I've had a soft spot for him from the beginning. But he's not making it a thing where it's like, I just like that character. I like his character in this now too.
Yeah, no, I think he's walking a dangerous line with how the character's like written and stuff. But he's like, it's like selling for me.
He is rising to the occasion, and not like some people just can't deliver the lines, and like they would fall short of something that was far easier than this. And I think he's doing a pretty good job with this character.
Yeah, I'm basically happy overall. There's no one that I think's like a weak or bad character. Diego, now his face, he's doing like more complex things because he lost the cop lady.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
I want to see him go.
They
explained his exact power.
Because Hazel's like reading the. I realized like, God, Vanya wrote a how-to manual on how to bring this family down. Oh no!
So I felt like I missed like a portion of while he was saying it. Did you remember exactly what he said?
For Diego, she said he can curve anything he throws, usually knives.
I heard it wrong, so I'm glad we recapped.
Okay.
I was like, he can hit anything he wants, usually with knives, and I was like, he can hit anything he wants. What does that mean? Did he want to hit her in the ass?
Oh, he can throw a chair at the moon.
So he can curve anything he throws.
Yeah, that's like a basic way of like saying it, I suppose.
That's a weird power.
Hell yeah, it's a weird power.
Think about it, because it's not aim. He can't see through walls. Doesn't know where you're going to be. He just has the ability to curve something. Not necessarily good aim.
He's practiced though.
He has practiced.
Yeah. Well, I think controlling it, right? And I don't know if any like Marvel like A-list heroes.
I wonder if he can curve it more than once. Like, could he go through a doorway and then turn down a hallway with it? Like,
yeah, no, like just that one statement is so open to anything, right? Because if he can move objects, why does he have to have thrown them in the first place? And if he does, why does the power stop when the object stops moving? Right? It's very interesting.
Yeah,
I can make up some bullshit if you want, but yes, it's very interesting power.
Yeah, I want more flashbacks to see the team at work. I want to know like again, what the fuck did Klaus do?
Yeah, on missions.
Like,
right.
Why even send him on missions?
I know.
What was his role?
I think we're gonna and we're probably due for one. We're gonna see more about something like that, right? Because there has to be some reason. We see like a fake lunchbox, but we saw the real comic books, and it's all of them in there, right? So were they like solving mysteries? Is that why he would talk to the dead? That seems like such a strange, because like we've only seen a bank robbery, really. We saw them like getting ready for some other mission or two here, but we really only have seen the whole team do a bank robbery. Where I'm like, leave several of those people home. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, who else would you leave home?
I
Everyone
don't
else
know.
is useful.
I guess Allison is useful, but she's so vulnerable, and even.
But she could be like forever away with like a megaphone. I heard a rumor you all killed yourselves, and
they don't do that.
I know, but they could.
She was just in there, yeah.
Like you could just leave. She honestly, she could just stay at home. There could be a walkie-talkie on like Luther, and she could.
And he just says it because Luther, I feel I don't even know what his power is anymore. He seemed, he seemed just to be strong.
Yeah.
But he was acting like he was a tank and all that stuff. And Ben may in fact just be like an eldritch horror monster that can turn into something else or project a monster.
Yeah. Did they say Ben's power? I don't think they did.
He's like, I don't want, and then goes behind a thing. And there's like,
tentacles.
I think you see the tentacles, right?
Yeah, you do.
Just make that up, yeah. So, but then as we commented, his like uniform is still fine. So he might summon or project a horrible monster.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
It's
think
pretty good.
we'll ever know.
Interesting.
At least this season. I feel like we're not gonna know.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
I feel like that will be like the mystery of season 2, if there's a season 2.
There better be a season 2.
We'll see.
I like the pace of things like happening or whatever. But
yeah. How many episodes is this season?
This is 10, I believe.
10. All right, so we're halfway through.
This is the halfway point.
Yeah.
And in this episode, everything kind of comes to a head.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, Klaus and Diego are palling around. Five and Luther are palling around.
I love them in the fucking ice cream truck.
And they come together. Yeah. So everything, there's like a trap set up. Or not really a trap.
I had a mental prediction that did not come true.
Oh, yeah.
So when 5 gets like time paused and he's talking with the girl, you see that bullet in the air. And I was like, okay, he's gonna move the bullet, and he moves the bullet. But in my head, I'm picturing he didn't move it far enough, and it was gonna go through Luther's hand because of how Luther was standing and like the position that how it looked to me as the bullet was.
Interesting.
I was like, and it's gonna hit him in the hand. Luther's gonna go and then when he goes down, he'll look up and go 5. Where the fuck did 5? What the hell?
That's nice.
I thought that Diego, Klaus, and Luther dropped the ball because they had an opportunity where there was a gunless enemies right there. They could have just beat them.
Yeah, and
death.
And they run. Yeah,
they weren't wearing their helmets. Diego could have just thrown 2 knives and just won, right? Like, I don't understand why that didn't happen. Even Klaus could have potentially beat one of them to death. Like, come on.
I know. I'm not sure why they left like that because they
don't
didn't know what was
explain
going on.
What their powers are yet, but like they know Luther is strong. They're like, oh, we almost didn't get out of there. I'm like, but you did. So how'd that happen? Like something special. There's obviously Hazel and Cha Cha are more than meet the eye. And I don't know about Cha Cha. Hazel certainly.
Yes.
He's something. He's not just a big guy. That'd be so dumb.
Well, but we've gone back and forth on this, right? We're not now. I'm not sure anymore.
Hazel is surprised. He's like, yeah, I dropped a chandelier on him. He walked away without a scratch.
Walked away right away.
And like that impresses him, which means he wouldn't have, I guess. And you're like, but you took a body slam from like, a 600-pound
guy,
man.
who was trying to stop you or whatever.
And you're not like the next day walking like a cripple. You're fine.
I know. Something's up. And I hope it's not so like there's an art to like not explaining stuff or whatever.
Sure.
But
this isn't it though.
No, I agree something's up because I don't want to be like Diego seems like he's trained, and we see a scene in the beginning where he's Nightwinging like a bunch of criminals or whatever, right? And then for the rest
brutally.
of it, and that sold me on like his abilities, right? Luther, just his size alone, and then you find out more about like in the bank robbery, he just is like pummeling a grown man to death at like age 12 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Allison has whatever power she has, and they show her fighting with Cha-Cha though, and I made a comment.
They're all trained.
I know, and I made a comment like, is that okay? And I guess Cha-Cha would have a different power if she's not physically strong or something like that. But Cha-Cha is also trained. She's using like 2-stick technique and doing all this stuff or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then Diego goes up against her, and it seems like he can't do any better really than Allison did at the end of the day.
They were trained by the same guy.
Blocking and stuff. Right. So I'm like, okay. So I guess it like what I'm trying to say, I guess, does everyone just have a, just kind of has a power, I guess. And then they're all at like Diego's level of Nightwing, but they're just choosing not to do it?
I would wager yes.
Is that the idea?
If you look down the hallway, there's like Kitty arming themselves like pictures of like, this is how you block and this is how you like, there's like stupid shit like that led me to believe from birth they have been trained.
I still don't think that you could fight a superpowered person though.
We don't even know if they are superpowered.
If you were trained. Yeah, I know. But then they should beat them easily because they're not only trained, but they have powers.
You'd think.
So what are we doing here?
Well, but the difference is like you can be more trained. Like they are in the Assassin's Guild. Presumably they are top tier fighters.
And the helmet was a big differentiator.
Yes. If you were going to have a thing where Hazel fights Luther and wins, or at least gets to walk away, they should have made him just a ridiculously skilled fighter where he's dodging and punching and doing things. I think letting him take direct hits from Luther is the mistake. Unless he is somehow
right. They should have had some sort of technological explanation or something like that. The mask, should have like gone and like flash banged Luther and disoriented him, and then he threw a bookshelf on him or something like that. Something where you're not just like, wait, they're just because it was literally luchador wrestling because we had him with like a big mask and Luther's all disproportioned and they're just throwing each other around. It's gonna bother me for 4 more episodes. I feel like we're never gonna know.
Well, eventually
the
we
answer
should
to
know
all this
something.
stuff.
But they're now trapped. They don't have a briefcase any longer.
They know it.
Well, no, they don't. They don't know that there's no briefcase. They,
I'm sorry.
They know
By the
that
end
there
they
was
know.
a.
Yeah, sorry.
But they know that there was a decoy briefcase.
Yes,
but
yes,
their
yes.
briefcase still could be somewhere else. But it is
Exactly.
destroyed. We know that as an audience, and that's interesting because either way, these guys should be fighting tooth or nail now, trying to get their briefcase back because they
Yeah.
know the world ends in 3 days now.
4 or 5, yeah, several days.
With less than a week
Soon
to live.
Yeah, exactly. And they are watching their only hope like drive away and all that
Yes.
stuff. Oof, right? Then that's bad. So now they're motivated to chase
Hitting
after
them with that ice cream truck, though, I was like, get them.
Yes. And when they're leaving, right? Klaus gives
Flipping
the
'em off,
finger,
yeah.
and Ben's in the front seat like woo, like doing the
Yeah,
whole
that
thing. I
was
like,
beautiful
that's
too,
awesome.
actually.
Yeah, like, oh, this is wonderful. So it like felt really good, but in retrospect, all they know is that 5 disappears, and then they just turn around and run when they were coming in. I don't know
Well,
what they're.
what I would love, this would be a prediction / how I would do it, would be Ben wasn't frozen because Ben's not on this plane of existence. Ben's dead.
Okay.
And Ben's like, yeah, like time froze and some girl showed up and Klaus and
That
her
would
were
be
talking. and that's how I would like, how do you know this, Klaus? Ben told me. What? And like,
Because they have to find out that he can talk to Ben, otherwise I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen. I would love that. That would be awesome. Because yeah, we don't have an.
Well, they know he can talk to Ben.
Okay.
Presumably, because at one point Diego says, well, you can talk to your dead friend whenever you want. So, like, he can talk to any dead people, presumably.
I know, but they don't know Ben's there right now somehow. They're going to get into it at some point, I assume. It just feels really weird to me.
Uh-huh.
Because they don't say, like, hey, is anybody here that can go look around the corner for us? Like it never comes up, seemingly. So I'm like, I don't know what's
But he
going
never
on.
even does that either. So,
I know.
like that just seems like a flaw in the
Yeah.
world. Because, yeah, that would be... you should have a dead homie friend who, like, you tell his loved ones his last words or something, and then he's, like, with you, ride or die forever, to be like,
Yeah.
I'll check out corners and walk through things, and I'll do things. I'll stand guard while you're sleeping. Like, there should be
Yeah.
a dude.
And like goes through the wall if they can do that, and like comes back and says, yeah, no, they're asleep. You can go in now, or something crazy.
They have to
right?
be able to go through walls because
Yeah.
how else would Ben have even gotten to the front seat of the car?
Exactly.
Yeah. Are we missing something else? What else we got?
Well, just to round that out, right? So 5
Mhm.
is like, I would like if they survived, and she's like,
Yes.
I'll see what we can do. You find out, just like hints. She's like, hey, shoot me if you want, but I'll be replaced. I'm just a cog in a big machine. Chill out, boy.
Yeah, I wonder if that's true.
I think it's a bluff.
I wonder what the machine
Glad you said
actually
that.
is.
Yes.
What is her name? She's very familiar.
Her, the actress or the character?
The actress.
I don't know either one. No, I liked some of this backstory, I guess, but I'm not sure why all this stuff was supposed to happen or something like that.
No, I don't know
Strikes me
either.
as weird,
Especially
wrong.
since, like, I don't understand their job exactly. Whenever someone's going to do something that throws off the timeline, I don't understand what that means.
How could anything
everything
throw off
is
the timeline?
preordained, like,
Yeah.
and you know this somehow going in?
Yeah.
Or can people change what has already happened? Like, are you from the future, know what's going to happen, and know this guy's going to make it so that isn't what happened? And there's a risk that you might not even be a time cop anymore, so you have to kill this guy, or else you might not exist because they're changing the future. Like, that makes a little bit of sense, but it's also very convoluted.
No, like usually in fiction like this, they are stopping people who are, like
Going
5.
back to alternate time.
Yeah, like 5.
But this
who is
this
time
is
traveling
random
or something.
idiots
Yeah.
that have no business to change
Right.
time.
Well, and like, I would assume, like, I thought that there was going to be something about the Armageddon and like the thing, and like her saying, no. When you time traveled, that's what created all this, and we're in the process of like fixing it, and like we need you now. We couldn't take you for this many years for some reason because you have to be accounted for here, but now we're going to take you back and we're going to do something or whatever.
Oh, like,
But,
so you caused this. We let you serve in isolation prison for the last 40
That's
years.
not what I meant, but I like it a lot.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what
Okay.
you meant.
No, I meant
I didn't
something,
hate that.
Yeah, I meant like if he got taken out of that, some weird time thing
Uh-huh.
where you have to be in this timeline for a certain amount of time, and then we're going to take you, shoot you up with future drugs so you're 80 but you don't die, and then whatever. She says, like, good job on the age regression. He's like, wasn't intentional or whatever, right? And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So things like that can happen, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
almost like if you, survive an apocalypse and then find some sort of a mannequin in a store, and then when you go back in time, you take that mannequin, so it's not in the store anymore, but somehow you still met it in the future, and then
Yeah.
you're your own father.
No, I know. Well, and that's the whole thing. Like, we haven't seen anyone like sometimes in time travel when you change something, it happens right there or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So part of me was thinking this had something to do with the multi-dimensional time thing or something. I don't know. We're gonna find out more. We need more information at this point. But I did not expect when they shook hands for him to disappear immediately. I figured something else would happen for some reason, and I was caught off guard by that. Because he is just literally gone, and he's gonna go. She like makes a deal with him. He's gonna go be a better type of. He's gonna be a middle management time cop instead of a boots on the ground field op time cop.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
I don't know.
That's a little strange.
Like, are we just not gonna see him now? Is like old 5 gonna come from the future to like fix that again somehow? And like try to get him to not make the like because otherwise like what's gonna happen? We see him in episode 9 because he's been working behind the scenes to make something like we can't go and have him be in like a white room talking to that lady, right? That's not gonna happen.
Well, if he made a deal for them to live, presumably he could send back a portal. They could go into the future or into the 50s, wherever he's at the moment, and from there they could launch their attack as a team to try to bring down this time syndicate, go back to their present time, stop the apocalypse, and move on to season 2.
Something has to happen, right? We have to close this. Because it can't be... Sorry, I just started 4 sentences and didn't finish any of them.
I was there.
I was thinking that this might have something to do with the fact that they are superpowered in the first place. That the whole time travel thing, something might have happened, that someone went back to that day and did something to like seed those people or something like that. But you're absolutely right. If there's a season 2, if there's multiple volumes of this comic, we can't just resolve the core conceit of the whole thing yet. This has to be a separate apocalypse time cop thing. You could.
For the purposes of wrapping up and starting a new thing, like Origins and whatnot. I don't know that they're going to do that. I don't think so, but it's
because that would be something where like keeping them alive. No, is literally everyone on the entire Earth dead? Because that was one of our one of our
we were
focal
led
points
to believe.
of like,
well,
that
but
can't be
the
true.
way she phrased something, I bet there's like underground bunkers of people or something like.
Because they're from the
we
future.
Have some umbrella fucking.
Are they also aliens? Because if they're from the future, but everyone died in the apocalypse. And 5's only alive because he skipped it, right? Doesn't make any sense. Unless, like, this dimension was supposed to be extinguished to restart, and they were going to pick certain people and peel them out. That's what I thought was happening originally. That she was like, well, this Earth died, but there's other Earths, and we exist outside of time and space, and we're going to recruit you now because you're very powerful and all that stuff. And he's like, you couldn't have come 45 years ago? And she's like, no one's perfect. Come on, let's go. And like they do this dumb thing or whatever. But not at this point, anything is possible, and nothing that I wanted to happen has happened.
Well, I'm trying to think, what would the event, if there's not a time travel as a group, taking them back to when this happened, what would even have been the factor that brought them together? Because presumably, I say presumably a lot in this show, the dad died by the hands of whatever event was happening. It may not have been an accident.
Right.
Or it was, and that always was the event that rekindled all the people coming back. But if he didn't die naturally, I wonder if there's more to explore in that venue.
Well, so I still suspect he's not really dead, but that opens up like a major, not that, but what you just said opens up another major thing where it's like, did 5 try to go back to that? Because like everything, once 5 joins the time cops, he should have all of the history that that is known. So he should know that the world ends about here, and right before that, my dad died, and everyone got together, right? And I saw them dead all in the mansion, which was weird because now I know that Vanya wrote a book, and then no one talked to each other for 30 years, like because all that should be part of like recorded history or something like that, right? You would think.
Maybe.
So he should know all that, right? So it's weird to me that he would come back like right then, but then kind of be, I don't know. It's weird. Something's weird about the show.
A few things.
A few things are weird.
Explain some of those in the next episode.
They've teased us, though, at the end here.
Yep.
We have Pogo and Mombot.
Yes, he's bringing her back online.
And he says, do you remember what happened? And she's like, yeah, or something like that. I forget what she says.
Yeah,
and then he says,
keep that secret.
But you must, and you understand that children must never know. And she goes, I understand, and all that stuff. And you're like, what is happening? Well, I'm so happy. Yes.
Is it simply that Diego's going to take you offline,
yeah.
or is there something else?
So I'm like always like very charitable or like optimistic. I'm assuming that he's talking about something else, and maybe we're even supposed to think that he's talking about what just happened that we all saw. But either way, he's talking about something else. It might just be what
Because
happened.
even just that, at the
Right.
moment, he didn't fess up to it. They assumed it was the attackers. The attackers killing their mother is what unified pretty much everyone together. So maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, don't tell them what happened because they're finally getting along.
Yeah.
And if you do this, they're going to be split into two groups again. They're going to all hate Diego. We don't want that. He's going to stutter again.
He's going to start stuttering.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Okay. So the dad's not dead. Well, the dad's body is dead, but his consciousness is now inside of Pogo. And that's why he had the ability to bring Mombot back, and that's the whole thing that's going on. We're going to have this dramatic reveal where he goes, you've always said that. That's why I never should have adopted you, or something weird like that. Done. Called it 10 out of 10.
I don't know. That sounds a little fishy to me.
Of course it's You're like, I don't know if that makes sense.
That's a prediction.
It is literally a prediction. I don't know. I just thought of that now. I have no idea.
All right, well, we will see
I'll keep chewing
next
on it.
episode if that comes to fruition. All right, guys, so that is this episode of the Umbrella Academy. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die to fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.